Okay, so this is video 2. Anyway, so we're talking about the Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer would represent the male as it relates to north and south. The North Pole would represent the male. The South Pole would represent the female. So when the polar shifts from energy, the polar shifts from north to south, the magnetic pole shift takes place. It's going to go from north to south, right? So therefore, that's going to be like represented by the female energy, right? So when Uranus goes into Taurus and the Seven Sisters, that would be the constellation of the Seven Sisters, right? The Pleiades. That energy that comes through is going to be female. We just also had the total solar eclipse of America, right? Okay. Then we had the flood, which is like the breaking of the water, right? Okay, giving birth to what? The female. What happened? Then we had the sign of Revelations, Revelations 12, right? When that occurred, September 23rd, Muharram 3rd, September 3rd. Muharram 3rd, 1439, September 23rd, 2017. We had that, right? Represent the birth of the prophet, born of a virgin, right? In the sign of Libra, the sign of the female, right? Then we had, and I believe it was the 13th of November, 13th of November, we had the sign of Bethlehem, the star of Bethlehem appear, right? And that appeared Safar 24, 1439. So we have all these symbols here. Now we're going to have all this energy in Ramadan, in Mother's Day, in the sign of the Pleiades, the sign of Taurus. At the time Uranus going into Taurus, right? Which is the sign of the female, right? Okay, Venus is supposed to rule that area, right? Okay, again, Venus, and that happened September 23rd, happened in Venus, right? Libra, right? Okay, Aphrodite, right? Okay, the Black Mother, right? Okay, so now on the other side of that happened in, let's say, the Western Hemisphere, the birth of the birth, right? So Revelations 12. Then we have Ramadan, okay, and Muharram was New Year, okay, that was a New Year. Then 9 months later we have Ramadan, okay, and the night of power, Laylat al-Qadr, okay, and okay, Uranus in Taurus, and Mars in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Scorpio, right? And all of these houses, constellations, are in the fixed constellation, right? Okay, are in fixed signs, okay? So it's fixed energy, okay? So they're on the same plane, okay? So, okay, we have all that coming through, which represents, and don't forget, again, we're still going through the galactic alignment, and we still got to go from the energy shift, the polar shifts, right? Which is from north to south, right? All female energy, right? And what did it say? The dragon, the red dragon, which is the beast, will be trying to block the female, right? Will be trying to get this child so it could kill it, right? But the child was taken up to Allah, right? That's what the prophecy states, right? The biblical prophecy states. The child was taken up to Allah, to the Creator. Okay? Now, all of this is going through Ramadan. After the month of Ramadan, is complete, Guess whose birthday is right behind Ramadan? The Drump's. The Drump's birthday is the if Eid is on the 20, if Eid is on the 13th, no, if Eid is on the 14th of June, then the Drump's birthday will be on that day, right behind the woman. And he's trying to get in Uranus. He's trying to get into Iran, to destroy Iran, to represent, because Iran represents male masculinity. It represents that male child, that Islam, that consciousness. Because remember, it's coming in Ramadan. It's coming in Islamic consciousness. Okay, and I told you before, when the prophet returns, he's not going to come as a Christian or as a Jew. He's going to come as a Muslim. A Muslim means believer. And they've been trying to, and they're trying to get in Iran to stop it so that they can put that shitty ass Antichrist bullshit on the throne in Jerusalem. And that's what the grab of the pussy was about. The grabbing of Jerusalem, trying to grab it and recognizing it as the capital, some bullshit capital for the British Rothschild Zionists, for the Rothschild British Zionists. It ain't the capital of the Trump. And Allah curse and bind that piece of shit, that shithole mouth, Donald Trump. Allah curse and bind him. And destroy, may Allah destroy him. For trying to do that with his wicked self, thinking he can grab the Holy Land and give it to whoever he designated, to whoever. He ain't got that much power. Okay, and that's why he wants to get into Iran, because Iran represents Iran represents Uranus, the male consciousness, that Islamic consciousness. Well, it's not really, I can't say it for them, because Iran is a Muslim country. Never mind, and maybe Shia or Sunni or whatever. They don't give a damn about that. They don't give a damn about its cultural difference. They don't give a damn about that. It's just Islam. Long as they say, Ashhadu la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and that is, I bear witness that there is one God and Muhammad is his messenger, they want to get it out. That's what that's about. They want to destroy Islam. And Islam represents Iran represents that child. Iran represents Uranus. That's what Iran represents, and that's why they want to get in there and control it. But inshallah, Allah will curse and, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, curse and bind the drum, Donald John Trump. Curse and bind his wicketry, trying to give the Holy Land to the British Rothschild. That's some bullshit. I claim Jerusalem in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, curse and bind the drum and anybody else who try to steal it and try to claim it for anything else other than Allah. And all the world belongs to Allah. All of creation belongs to Allah. Trying to claim something ain't even his, ain't even theirs. Give me a break. Okay, so what else? Okay, so and also, all these planets in their home spot, all these planets going home, means humanity has to return to its own nature too. Turn to its nature. Turn back to the land. To whereby to provide for itself, to herbs for healing, whole foods for nourishing the body, not this manufactured modified bullshit that destroys the body through starving the body from the much needed nutrients. You know? Trying to domesticate humanity like it domesticates animals. Trying to domesticate it in a zoo of society, commercial zoo of virtual reality. And then claiming no responsibility for it. You gotta earn your own money. You gotta earn your own way. We're not responsible for taking care of you. Despite we take your land, despite we hoard the land, we modify the food, we take you away from your own opportunity to to learn how to cultivate the land and take care of yourself and build your homes from the wood and from the trees and all this kind of stuff. No, we're going to cut down the trees. We're going to poison the water so you can't drink the water. Then we're going to tell you got to buy the water. We're going to poison the air so you can't breathe the air. Pretty soon they'll be telling you buy air through respirators. This is some bullshit stuff, commercial stuff. Put humanity in a zoo, domesticate it, and then try to make humanity think that's your nature. It's your nature to live in cardboard boxes. It's your nature to live in a concrete urban rural cities. Okay? No, they don't want to teach you they don't want you to learn how to live off the land and then tell you it's wrong forbidden to plant a garden. You know? So you got to get back to your nature. Their commercial paradigm is falling. Their virtual reality is falling apart. But while they're constantly trying to make these bourgeoisies, and bourgeoisie means ignorant, they just have wealth, but they have no common sense. So these bourgeoisies are making laws, are trying to dictate reality to get humanity under subjugation, under its jurisdiction, whereby they will not be able to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help them when they need help. Okay, they won't even have a healthy body by which, you know, to be able to sustain themselves, you know, and telling them what they can eat, what they can't eat, how to heal them, what they can use to heal themselves. And if you notice, every medication that they manufacture, every chemical medication they manufacture, oh, don't take this. No, be sure to ask your doctor, to talk to your doctor before you take this certain type of before the person takes this certain type of medication. It could cause heart disease. It could stop the breathing. It could cause a lung collapse. I mean, do they factor that shit into the medication? But then tell you, no, but don't take the fucking marijuana, because it don't have no side effects. Not the marijuana, cannabis. Don't take cannabis because it has no side effects. That's not what they say, but literally, but figuratively, that's what they're saying. Because cannabis don't have any side effects. I see all these parents, you know, giving their children cannabis, and their children have severe, you know, health problems. And these parents are supposed to be considered doing something criminal, despite it's clearly seen that the cannabis helps their child. And they're supposed to sit back and say, can't give it to the child, watching their child go through these spasms. These children are spazzing out. You know, what are they called? You know, they have, you know, neurological disorders and all types of, you know, problems. And the parent is supposed to say what? Just sit back and watch their child suffer? Watch their child die? Or fear going to jail, prison? What that is neglect. If they don't help their child, and cannabis is something that the you know, the spiritual people took, you know, during ancient times, the holy people took cannabis. And from what I learned from what's his name, Santo Bonacci, very good educator. He's over at Astrotheology, very good educator, exceedingly knowledgeable. I would recommend anyone go over to Santo Bonacci and view his video. He's a very profound educator. does his research completely, thoroughly. I love his research. Anyway, and he may not be a Muslim, he may not be a Christian, he may not be a Jew, but he believes in Allah, he believes in the Creator. You know, he believes in a higher power. Okay? And but that doesn't mean I can't learn from him. I learn from him a great deal. I love Santo Bonacci at Astrotheology. He's got a lot of great videos out there. Very courageous man too. Anyway, from what I learned from him, one of the things I learned from him is that cannabis is is alkaline, so that helps the blood. That helps the body. It helps the body. But yet they want to ban it? Anything that helps the body? But no, take this manufactured shit that's going to help the pharmaceutical companies. You know, and what's his name? Jeff Sessions. That piece of shit. That piece of just supports racism and supports fascism. Is a sympathizer of fascism, a sympathizer of racism. You know, and trying to outlaw, malign cannabis. You know, I'm saying it's just it's highly, from what I heard, what's being said, you know, highly addictive, and you know, it's just one of the worst drugs out there. Those are all lies. They're all lies because what it is, cannabis is an easy access herb. Okay, it's an easy access herb, and it has no side effects, and you know, and it's many people use it in multiple ways. So if they can criminalize a common herb, a herb that is commonly used by the masses, if they can criminalize it, if they can criminalize it, then then the criminal justice system has it a good little sidekick business. That's what that's about. Feed the prison industrial complex by criminalizing, a common herb, a herb that is used among the masses with no side effects and harm to no one. A person can't even overdose off of cannabis. So criminalize it, and it's can be grown easily by the masses. Therefore, they can't tax it. They can't make a profit off of it. So people like Jeff Sessions, who's a supporter of the system, let's say, is attempting to, to criminalize cannabis, an herb that's used by the masses, thereby criminalize it. They can penalize people when they use it, and they can incarcerate them, thereby feed the private prison industrial complex, make a profit off of humanity and enslave them that way. And who do they imprison the most? Hebrews, aka black people, African Americans. So it's a way of repressing them by criminalizing a commonly used herb. But I also heard when they label it in the legal term marijuana, that's when it becomes then I also learned this from Santos. When they criminalize, when they changes the name of cannabis to marijuana and use it as a legal term, then they can criminalize it. But in its natural herbal state as cannabis, they cannot criminalize it. So you might want to look that up, okay? You might want to look that up, okay? So, but let's say marijuana or cannabis, when they criminalize it in the form of naming it marijuana, then the criminal justice system has it a pretty nice little gig going on, by criminalizing something that's commonly used. That's like criminalizing, water. don't drink this water, you know, or it's illegal. And once they, you know, criminalize water, then everybody's a criminal. Once they criminalize marijuana, then most of, you know, America's a criminal. And they can pick and choose who they want to incarcerate, and it's usually the Hebrews, aka African Americans. And it will justify continued police brutality and oppression, right? And feeding the prison industrial complex, whereby slave labor is used and pay those enslaved in the criminal justice system sweatshop wages, less than sweatshop wages. So it's a pretty good little gig. And Jeff Sessions, I'm certain he's aware of that. So that's the gig. That's the game that's going on there. You know, but while they're doing that, they're not, you know, they're hurting, you know, a great deal of, you know, Americans, you know, who desperately need it. Who desperately need it. And it's sad. It's you know, it's negligent on, you know, the American government's part. It's negligent, and they are that's basically like killing those children, and saying no, they got to take these prescribed, these authorized drugs that do greater harm to, you know, other parts of the body. And you know, if you listen to those commercials for those manufactured chemicals, you know, it's always don't take talk to your doctor if severe symptoms of bleeding occur, or a loss of eyesight, or, you know, sleep over, you know, falling asleep while driving, or kidney failure. It's like they factor that shit in there. You know, so it's like, but, you know, criminalize cannabis, which is desperately needed because it feeds the criminal justice system, the prison industrial complex. It sustains police brutality, gives them a reason for police brutality and to harass much of the American population. So Americans need to, you know, not fear the law, just change the people who write it, who administrate it. Don't fear the law. The law shouldn't be feared. The law should be there to help and protect humanity. Well, it's commercial law. It's not natural law. Natural law is the law of the land. Do no harm. That would be like the Ten Commandments, you know. So, you know, commercial law is Vatican law. It's canon law. It's Vatican law. Again, Rothschild law. Okay, Rothschild law. British Zionist law, as implemented by the Vatican, because humanity, through the birth certificate system, humanity is owned by the Vatican. Okay, through those dummy corps. Okay, so you know, and it's their money that is used to keep humanity poor. If humanity lived off the land according to its nature, right? You know, they build a house on land, okay? And record the deed to that land. And they live in that house. You know, pass that house off to their children. You know. And like they did the family farm. The family eat off the land, but there's growing the vegetables and, you know, and taking care of their livestock. There'd be no poverty. There'd be no poverty as it is such today. There'd be no starvation. Oh, and another thing about starvation. Welfare, work for food, for program, right? Did the Drumpf work, take on an extra job when he got that $14 million tax cut? That's like $15 million in his pocket. Not this year, 2018, but 2019. And another $5,000, from what I understand, cut from inheritance tax. Did he get another job? Did his children get another job? But yet he asked, he's trying to make it where most Americans will have to work to get food stamps. But is Zionist Israel working? British Zionist Israel working? Did they take on another job to get foreign aid? Does any other country have to work to get American tax dollars that they work for and pay into the system? Did those foreign countries, did those countries that get foreign aid, did they do any labor to get American foreign aid? But he's trying to ban immigrants from coming to the country. Refugees from coming into the country, while sending you tax and talking about the welfare, and talking about the getting America back to work by getting them off welfare, right? About getting them off food stamps, not welfare, food stamps. Getting them back to work. Getting them back to work so they have to pay taxes to pay the foreign aid to British Rothschilds, Israel, and any other crony country that supports their terrorism on many African nations and the so-called third world nations, right? So yeah. So are they working? Are they going to get another job? But Americans got to go back. And this game was played on Americans before by Ronald Reagan. Okay? Ronald Reagan busted all the unions, pretty much all the unions. Okay? And in busting the unions, of course, a lot of people lost their jobs. The jobs were shipped out to outsourced because they didn't want to pay the money. They didn't want to pay the overtime. They anticipated the dollar collapsing. They didn't want to pay the overtime. They didn't want to pay the vacation pay. They didn't want to pay the retirement. They didn't want to pay shit. So they outsourced this job to third world, undeveloped nations. Trump still has his corporation, in China for cheap labor. But telling you he's going to bring jobs back home. Why don't he bring his jobs back home? Think, people. This racism shit, it's not this white supremacy. It's not cultural protectionism. No, it's not cultural protection. It's market protectionism to protect the Rothschild, commercial paradigm, the Rothschild commercial market. Under the guise of we're protecting white culture, we're protecting our white race. No, you're not. What you're doing is protecting Rothschild, who's destroying your white race. Okay? And how's he doing that? Again, going back to Reaganism. And Reagan and the, busting the unions. Well, when they busted the unions and outsourced the job, they also cut welfare, right? The minimum 5 years. I don't know what it is now, but it was 5 years. And they use the slogan, welfare cream, make you think it's a black thing. We're hurting these we're hurting these niggas. Okay, to appeal to you, to your racist tendencies. And you fell for it. Then when all the jobs left, okay, the industrial jobs left, America started upgrading technologically, okay, the jobs technologically, okay, which, cut a lot of American jobs, right? Because now they could be automated. Your jobs could be automated. Now you need something to hold on to, okay? You need some kind of income to support your families, right? Because you don't have any savings. Everything was basically credit. Okay? So, now you got to pay these debts. And you ain't got no money. And you're losing your homes. Right? So, welfare would have been nice. But too late. You let them cut it. But they knew that. Reagan knew that. They all knew that. So what did they do? They cut it before they cut your jobs. And they did that to you, racist. Cultural. They did that to you, white supremacists. And now, all you can get is food stamps. And they're getting ready to do that to you again. Under the guise of these, we're going to make them go back to work. To what jobs? Walmart's closing down. Sam's Club is closing down. These minimum wage jobs are leaving. They're leaving too because the dollar's collapsing. Where are they going to get their money from? If you ain't got no job, where they going to get the money from? Remember, the money's in trade. Okay? You trade labor, you get money. You use that money to buy goods and products, goods and services. If you ain't got no money, you can't buy goods and services. Goods and services got to go somewhere else where they can get money and survive. But there's nowhere to go, so they going underground. And when the dollar collapses, you ain't got nowhere to go. And you ain't going to have no food stamps to get. You ain't going to have nothing to eat. They just going to leave you ready for civil war. That's what they going to do. Leave you ripe for civil war after all this animosity, civil unrest they create in society by making you think black people are the ones on food stamps, and they're not. Black people are not the majority in the country. Okay? Making you think the illegals are doing it. But he gonna build this wall taking American money. He gonna take American money. Tax dollar, more of your tax dollars. Right? Because you're the one who's supposed to be working. Black people just sitting on their ass. So you're the one who's supposed to be working. So if they taking your money to build a wall, and then after they build a wall, jobs are gonna leave. You know, you ain't gonna have nowhere to go, right? So you're not gonna have food stamps either. Okay, so it's just a setup. They're setting you up. Because they figure you are more concerned, Mr. Racist, about preserving your racist attitude than you are in your preserving your economy. Because people like you guys think that whites have the government has your back. Okay? So we're going to go to video 3. Okay? And Assalamu alaikum. We're going to go to video 3, okay, right now.